Hey everybody, MrBookieboo here, and I am back with another how to build your Lego City video. Now I know some of you are expecting a video on wiring and stuff. That video is still going to be coming, but just not yet. I want to do it justice, and we've been in the middle of a heat wave here, and it's been really hot, and so it's early morning, and I'm trying to get this video cranked out for you, but I think you're going to like this one too. So today, what we're going to talk about is facades. Now, as you know, my room is really narrow and skinny. I don't have a lot of depth with my tables. My tables are only 3 base plates deep, slightly more in certain spots. And so that doesn't leave a lot of depth when you get to taking pictures or just looking at the city in general. And if you think way back to my original layout, it was basically, it was like a modular in the back, road, and then I had a little half base plate for the trains in the front. That was it. And it was cool. It was great. You know, for a first start, it was really awesome. It looked good. But then I ended up saying, you know, I wanted more. I'd see these other awesome layouts that were like on, you know, giant tabletops, and it looked like a living, breathing city. And it was so cool, and I wanted that so badly, but I couldn't accommodate that in this room because this, like I say, this room is so narrow, and there's just not enough room. So I started thinking, and I was like, well, what could I do? There's got to be something you can do, some way to get that depth without, you know, having a gigantic table. And that's when I kind of remembered my days going back to Universal Studios when I was a kid and learning all about doing it on the tram tour, and they take you through all the sets and stuff, and then, you know, and I remembered, I was like, oh geez, like Hollywood's been doing it forever. You know, they have facades of, you know, New York City, you know, ancient Rome, Wild West, whatever it is, they've built basically, you know, false front buildings, and they look and feel just like a full-scale building, but as soon as you go past the exterior wall of it, it's hollow, there's nothing there, or it's flat. And so I said, hey, why don't I do something similar? Because I had just a little bit of space behind the modulars, and that's what I figured. I'm like, well, why don't I try to do stuff like that? And that's the result is kind of what you see behind me. So I still have the original, I stuck to my original design layout, you know, trains in the front, road, modulars, but now when you look at it, when you look back here, you can actually see that there's a lot more depth because I've added these facades behind. So I'm going to show you kind of how I build the facades and give you some like tips and tricks on what I do, so that if you're interested, you can do something like that to your layout. Now the really good news about it is it also excuse me, it also saves you a lot on bricks, because you're not building a full building, you're not building a gigantic skyscraper with 4 sides. So you actually end up saving a lot of money and a lot of bricks and a lot of time, because you're just doing 1 side or maybe 1.5 side, or, you know, something to that variation. So the first thing is I'm going to show you right here. This is an example of a facade. This is an old one I had in the previous layout, and this one actually was a shorter facade, but you can see it looks like a completed building when you look at it head on. But when I turn it, you can see that there's nothing to it behind it. It's completely hollow. There's no interior per se. And it basically, you know, it just economizes on the bricks that you use. But something like this could sit behind your modulars, and it makes the whole, you know, it gives you that depth that you're looking for, and it just makes it look more alive, more vibrant. So, you know, basically you just got to figure out kind of what you want to do. In this case, I'm just doing buildings with windows, like office buildings or like apartments, things like that is what I kind of look at. I'll look out into the world and look for examples of things that I might want to, you know, kind of copy. And then you just kind of figure out a color scheme. So I like to mix up the colors. So if you look behind me here, what I've done behind the garage and the police station is I've got, you know, I've got a reddish brown facade. I have the sand green. Further down behind me, you can see the red, the dark red one. Over here behind the movie theater, I have my light gray, and it's just mixing up the colors, making it make the color palette more vibrant and alive. Like, you know, I initially had the brown facade behind the brown townhomes. It blended right in. You didn't see it. You didn't even notice it. So you want to be aware of that as you're designing these things, as your color schemes. But again, you just kind of pick your, you know, pick the width. This one's 32 wide. Most of mine are either 32 or 16 wide. Some of them, like the large office building over here, is a little bit wider than 32, and that's just because I wanted to be a little bit different. And that one's more, you know, more of like a skyscraper type design, so I just wanted to have a more massive presence. But even that is only, you know, like 6 studs deep, and it's completely hollow inside. Just the front is finished. That's it. There's nothing else to it that makes it, you know, there's not really not much to it when you get inside of it. Now, I'm going to show you another one that I have here, and then I'm actually show you some of the ones on layout as well. But this is another example. So this is actually a massive one that I built. This one was on the old layout. I haven't put it on the new one, and I've actually already commandeered some of the windows for another project off of this one because I'm probably going to rebuild it. This was a really simple design. I wasn't quite happy with it. But again, it's not designed to be like a beautiful, you know, mock like your modulars would be, or like some other type of creation. It's just designed to give you depth in the background. So as a background building, it doesn't have to get super detailed. You know, it can just be a simple building. This one is actually completely flat, which is one of the things I don't like about it, because it doesn't sit flat on the wall, and I'm actually going to show you why in a minute. So what I do usually on my modulars now is I build out the sides at least 2 or 3 bricks out this way. Sometimes I'll build them out deeper, because then you'll have more variation, so they're not all just flat on the wall. You want them kind of like looking in and out, or bumping in and out. So like one, and then one will be further a little back, and then, you know, back and forth. And you can actually see that if you look behind me in the sand green and the reddish brown. The sand green is nearly flat to the wall. It's 2 studs off the wall. The reddish brown is 6 studs off the wall. And it gives you a little bit more depth in the scene when you look at it. So it's really, really a neat little trick you can do. Doesn't use a whole lot more bricks, and it just works well. Now, here's something else that I do for the taller ones, because these are, like I said, they're narrow and they're going to fall, right? So what I do is I build support columns to hold up the rear, which you can see, and just to support the whole structure. So I like to use these gigantic beams, because they're really cheap, and you can stack them really high. And then when you get to the part where like you couldn't fit another beam, this one has 3 beams for the height, so I just use bricks that, you know, are kind of ugly bricks that you wouldn't necessarily use for other projects. You just use those to finish it off, and again, you can see that on the bottom. Now, also on the bottom, I have these octagons. There's 6 sides. No, they're 8 sides. That's it. I don't know what that is. You guys can tell me. It's not a hexagon. It's octagon. Yeah. So I have these plates that are kind of difficult to use, or you come with castle sets. So I'll use these for like a base for it, so that it's not wobbly when it's sitting on the tabletop. I'll also use just plates, you know, like 4x6s, 6x8s, depending on the size of the facade, just to give it some stability. And then depending on how far back it's set, this is actually, again, this is kind of one of my older designs. So this one is actually not, it sits too far back, because it's actually 3 studs back, but the wall is flush, so it looks funny from the side, or from like an extreme side angle. So this one's gonna get rebuilt. But the other last thing I'll point out on this one is that I also cheat. So for the windows, so if you notice on this other one here, let me grab this one, you can see right through it. So if I put it up like that, it looks weird. And then when it's on the wall, you see my sky blue wall right through it. Doesn't look realistic at all. You can certainly make curtains if you want with Lego bricks. I've seen some really cool techniques. I tried experimenting with that with my hospital facade that I did. But a lot of times I like to economize on the bricks. And so for this, I cheat as well. And I just use construction paper on the back. And you can see I actually just taped it straight on. And what that does is it just blocks off the windows, so you just see black. Now if I use black, I'll use gray. I mean, if you want to get creative, you could do different colors. You could make curtains out of construction paper that are in different colors. You could probably even make them like accordion style, so it looks like those have more depth. There's a lot of different things you can do. Because again, it's a background structure, and it's not there to draw the eye. It's just there to kind of complete the scene. I just use construction paper on most of these, and that makes it really quick and easy. Just one sheet covers almost, if it's 32 wide, it covers almost all the windows, and you're up and running really quickly. Now, for some of these, the other thing that I'll do, and I'm going to show you that, but some of these, so like for example, this one used to have a bottom, but again, I cannibalized the parts, and I'm going to rebuild it. A lot of times in the facades, like for example, like the green and the brown one back there, you can't see the lower half of it. You're never going to see it unless you like look directly down at it from like a bird's eye view. But otherwise, you're never going to see the bottom. So what I'll do is I'll kind of cheat again, and I'll build up a foundation, like a brick tower, again with like, you know, lime green, yellow bricks you're not going to use often, but that you probably have tons of. Build up some little towers like this, and then what you can do is you actually put the facade on top of it, and the towers are completely hidden behind the modulars. You're not going to see them. Now, some of them you're not. You got to be careful. Some of them, like Assembly Square, have hollow, like walkways. Green Grocer has like a little breezeway that goes to the back. Is it Green Grocer that does it? Yeah, I think it's Green Grocer that has that. So some of them you can't really do that. So some of my facades do go all the way down to the bottom. Some of them are even almost complete with doors and stuff at the bottom. But a lot of these are fake, or they're not finished underneath, or they're just kind of like half finished. So keep that in mind. If in my opinion, if you're not going to see it, why waste time on it, you know? I mean, you'll know it's there, and that's about it. No one else is going to know. So, having said all of that, I'm going to show you, let's show you some of these facades up close, okay? So we'll be right back. Okay, so, a little bit closer view here, and you can kind of get a better idea of what I was talking about earlier with the depth. Now, you can see again, the green facade is set back closer to the wall. It is much, not as deep as the brown facade next to it. This gray one is even deeper. And then the red one you can actually see as well. And we're going to get real close to these so you can really see what I'm talking about here. But you get an idea, though, for how you get just a little bit more depth. Without those behind it, you know, it's just kind of, the scene just kind of ends. It doesn't have much. It's kind of like this over here. If I spin over, you know, you can see Town Hall, fire station. It looks great, but it just kind of, like, it feels like it's missing something. Like it's just a city in the middle of a desert. You know what I mean? Versus over here, where you can really see the depth. And I'm actually going to talk about these facades because these are actually a little bit more special in a minute. But let's spin back over here real quick and let's go up high so that you can really get a good look at these facades. Now, these are the two I actually just worked on. And as you see, as I crest over, you see that? So you see the brown facade right there, how it is actually has the support columns. You can see them right in there. So it is like a half building. It's not even, there's not even, the windows are only 2 rows at the top. The green one is a little bit more detailed, but even then it just kind of ends. It doesn't get as detailed as you go further down. Again, you can see the depth though, and the difference, which gives it, you know, a little bit more, makes it just a little bit more vibrant, more alive but instead of just having like a flat row of facades all together. And then the same thing with the red one. The red one I'm actually probably going to redesign a little bit and make it, I don't know, I got to figure out what I want to do with it. I'm probably going to make the roof a little more elaborate, maybe, something like that. And I want to put another facade between these two, but mix up the colors again. Because you can see these are kind of blending together, the red and the brown, so they don't look good right next to each other. Like this is kind of like more of the completed scene that I have. And then this one, actually, this is one of the first facades that I built, which actually I really like. And this one actually solves a problem that I had, which is the window frame. So I wasn't quite sure what to do with this. You know, and I wanted to have, because the road actually is going to continue on this way, and it was just kind of like, oh, what am I going to do with this weird spot that I have here? And so what I did is I just wrapped the facade around the window frame and just continued the same pattern of the office windows. And that ended up working out really well because it hides the window frame, but it's still, and it's still a facade that doesn't take up a lot of space. If that were an actual skyscraper, it would be, you know, sticking out where Palace Cinema is, and you would lose a whole lot of room on your layout. And then as I move over this way, you can see just how narrow it is on this side and not really finished as well. Because again, you're not going to really see these extreme angles so much. And so you just don't need to get too detailed with it. Now, moving over to these guys, you can see how, again, this one is very similar to the light gray one that I built, but it doesn't wrap around anything, but it's just a really tall, you know, imposing kind of skyscraper, which I think works really well with Ghostbusters, which is a gigantic building. So again, you're getting that depth. As you look at the scene, you see the modulars, which are super detailed, look really good. and then you kind of go further back, and in this area I actually have more room. So I actually have a full base plate worth of room behind here. So what I was able to do is, like with the condo right here, is I was able to make that more deeper. So this one is actually really deep, and I'm starting to, I still have to work on it, but I'm actually starting to do some interior space inside here to make it look more alive and make it look really nice. Same thing with the hospital. The hospital is not quite as deep as the condo is, but it still is deeper than most. I believe it's like 8 studs deep. And again, it lets me do all these little scenes that you can see inside of there. Now, you'll notice I have not put the construction paper behind these yet. I need to do that because you can see through it and you can see the blue wall, and it ruins the effect, and it looks kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't look right. So, I still need to work on these. I'm still working on, again, the interior. I'm not really good with interior stuff. Interior design is not my forte. And I still actually need to finish some details on this one. But overall, you can see you can get all kinds of creative ideas with this stuff when you do these, and don't think that they just have to be a flat, thing that's flat on your wall. If you have the room, build them out a little bit. You can see, again, if I get in there, and you can see how these are actually completed. The reason these are completed, well, this one is because you can actually see all the way through. When you look through Assembly Square, you can actually see through to the bottom. So that's why I completed that one. The hospital is also kind of completed. I mean, it has doors and stuff, but it's not as detailed as the upper levels because you're really never going to see those. And again, because the hospital, you can see through the detective agency. There's a breezeway through there, and you can actually see through that. And I actually need to finish up. I need to put a plate on the bottom just to finish up like a walkway to the hospital. Just little things like that. That's all you need to consider as you do this. So hopefully this was a good little tutorial on facades, and hopefully you found it useful. And like I said, I will be back soon with the electrical update, because that's going to be a big one. And I really wanted to take the time to dedicate to that, to give it justice, because there is a lot of consideration that goes into that. And like I say, since I've been working on facades this week, I just thought this was kind of a more timely piece. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the electrical video, which is coming. Hopefully it's going to cool off for me, so it'll be a lot better. I can do this a lot easier. And then I will be back real soon with another video. Thanks for watching.